This piece is called Family. Before the war on families, we were different, together. Warm hands, deep voices, roses in the spring, melon in the summer, school clothes, car vacations, aunts, uncles, grandpas and grannies, presents on Christmas morning, Easter dinner, church on New Year's Eve. We were holding vigil, keeping the watch, Granny said. We remembered cotton, sunrise to sunset, hardworking in factories, construction, in kitchens, garages, in slaughter yards, rail cars, shipyards, steel mills, work for willing hands. Our hands were willing. School days, learning America from America, pledging allegiance, seeking a civilization like a warm coat in a winter that won't end. Cold water dreams and hot water cornbread days. Fathers in houses, holding us accountable, showing us what men look like. We saw, we knew, we followed in footsteps, hoping to climb higher. We remembered cotton. We were determined. We pushed and got shoved back. Heads high, we sat down. We shall not be moved. Answered by hoses, dogs, drowned in the ink of institutions that dug holes for our dreams. We were waves rising, marching, chanting. We taught the world to sing freedom. Granny told us about cotton, and we remembered to remember. We became doctors, lawyers, judges, store owners, soldiers, accountants, teachers, and preachers, embracing the gospel of bootstraps, legislated rights, sitting spooks at doors, praying our time in the bosom of the past wrapped around us. We stood on it, reaching together in small backyards, at birthday parties, reunions, and repasts after funerals of old people who knew the people in the pictures, and the neighbors who knew them and you since you were little, bringing food, telling stories that kept the connection alive because we knew we were all walking the same way on the road, building home with our hearts and our hands. Even after urban renewals, after eminent domain, after the factory, mill, garage closed, after the prison opened, after heroin swallowed 110th Street, before Freeway Rick, before Vietnam, before the post office took Granny's house, stuck her in the projects. She never owned another house. She died sleeping on Aunt Glo's couch, Aunt Glo's house, where childhood memories lived, until the bank refinanced Aunt Glo's house. The same house the bank would not give her grandfather the money to build. They refinanced it during the boom, then lowered that boom when Aunt Glo could not float the balloon they hung in the small print. Before cousin Fat Boy thought he was a urban cowboy, and they caught him with them scales in his Cadillac, bright red with white wall tires. Granny wouldn't ride in it. We saw Fat Boy, and some of us followed him to prison, and then took that ride to the graveyard with him. We moved like sharecroppers, like dream chasers, like those denied a resting place with hope and persistent faith in the America we learned in rooms with other brown children. We moved for jobs. We moved to find a place. We moved to get away. We moved to the projects. No yards, no swings, no park. Daddy gone. Mama got to work or be worked. Got to learn to work the system, get into the system of manlessness. Boys become men in houses with sad women who must go on, who lay with men who won't raise other men's children or their own, are still children themselves, numbered, caged, missing from dinner tables. Dinner tables missing. Microwave dinners on laps in front of screens, chasing other realities. Children lost to street corner fantasies. Even weeds will grow. Wild things bloom, whether or not they are cared for. Sisters see mothers settling, suffering, struggling, lost in following suit, lost in rebellion. Who will say the babies born to babies? Girls looking for love, smothered by responsibility, torqued, worked, confused by media, men, and the ride and the tide, washing away what it means to be a woman, redefined by a public sphere that chains them with labels after chaining them in reality. We are in transition to a visibility we craft, but we've not found the time or the ink to write the rules or overstand the story of broken families, broken connections, broken like covenants, families, overridden by myth, ethnographers, and Fox News. What happened to Black families? The way we saw ourselves when we were whole or more whole, or strong in the face of holes being dug by ink institutions and hate, before we fell into the holes, shattering the whole mother-father-child thing we relearned after the spoons in the bottom of the boat thing, before the cotton fields, after sharecropping, after world wars, wars on drugs, wars on terrorism, wars on Black men, wars on Black women, wars on Black children, before the war on Black families. We remembered cotton. We were different. This is called lynching tree memory. There are things I can never do. I do not take certain things for granted. No rose garden, only gray tinted glasses, blessed with memory. Too many people are afraid to remember. At least the scars come open, pus all over the crowded bus, holding the small lives on their way to stale holes in compressed realities, with ghosts hovering over their sagging shoulders, weighed by impossible histories, packed into tight, airless boxes, no light, no memories, no pain, and amnesia. Curious freedom. I remember, so I am not free. I am not free to chain others. I cannot be the overseer, cannot probe with blue gloves over hands that are not part of the answer, just more of the question of how to be sane with the memories of lynching trees. The shadows of broken bodies swinging sorrowfully in southern breezes. I remember the name of Black boys I never knew in life, just the memories of horrendous deaths. I remember the roads my great-great-grands walked in emancipation, freed into poverty. The shadows from the lynching tree, breathing shallowly in Jim Crow's reach, afraid of Joe Turner, remembering stories of ships, bad masters, and cruel mistresses. I cannot carry chains, cannot lash backs, cannot stop and frisk, cannot count your pennies, taxing you in Pharaoh's name, cannot deny I love you better than Peter loved Jesus. Love you well enough to remember what you've forgotten. What you've forgotten in order to open your eyes, to do something other than cringe in the nightmare of real reality. It's easier to sleep. It's easier to be sheep. Not all of them are slaughtered. Only the ones that point out wolves, only the ones that can see, only the ones who dare remember. I remember all the reasons you are afraid to remember. I sharpen weapons for the war you won't see. I can't wear the uniforms. I can't do the dances. I barely learned to speak the language. I only did that to be of value to you. I am because we are. I remember. I can't sell you God. I remember gods of thunder, dark stars, and pyramids. I remember to pray with my hands moving. I cannot live on my knees. I remember being born free with dignity and everything. I can't settle for less. I own my allness, the broken places from which we've risen, stumbling, falling forward. I remember us like a sky full of shiny midnight black crows, altogether mystical and resplendent, rising above snares that are not our imagination. Rather, they're machinations wrought of fear designed to contain. I remember. I remember all the ways the song's been sung. The rope, the whip, the startled surprise and bewildered eyes, rough hands, curses, no quarter in the madness, no limits to the transgressions under the authority of tyrannical texts making profane things sacred. I remember being well before the virus came, before the departure, the separation through doors of no return, the abyss, the ocean water, burning lungs, howling from the pen, home receding in the distance, the insistence I was less than human, no tears, no love, no pain, not human, beast, animal, property. I remember being human, so I cling to it. I will not be made less. I remember to remember the shadows, the soul-felt sorrow in bleak quarters the morning after, picnics and photographs of visible hate poured on like gasoline, the smell of sulfur as the flame is lit. There are things I cannot do, things I don't take for granted. No rose garden, only gray-tinted glasses. I remember. I have one more piece. I heard that exhale. That is a perfect segue for this piece. It's called When We Exhale. This piece is being published in an upcoming Black Fader Press edition by the same title, When We Inhale. Calling women to stand up and to walk away into the streets, out of the cities, come away, out of the towns, come away. Walk through the countryside into the forest, come. Leave the cement, let the neon fall from your hair. Follow the scent of the moon. Walk toward the wind's whine. Let us unwind ourselves, shedding our exterior paint, all our wires and constellations revealed. Let us peel off the world as we've been given to it, undoing the ways in which we have been undone. Movement 1. I always needed rituals. Resurrection, # born in the dying room. See, I was one of those not supposed to make it. Ghosts always been real comfortable around me. I could have lived or died since I was little. See, this has been a heavy place for me to smile in. I come with a tale, dark, wrapped over dark. Won't hurt long, not meant to last, but some children remember being stardust and know how to be in the nowhere, waiting until it's safe. Learning soon and sadly is rarely safe. They grow anyway. The uncanny, lucky learn to dance. Dancing lives in a room where you can get free for nanoseconds, and if you dance on a borderline, freedom may last longer. Movement 2. When we exhale, my ghost will reset the doomsday clock and finally rest. They've been hustling a while. There will be an audible click signaling creation to hope here again. The pendulum between right and wrong will hover over right until wrong forgets to be a thing we understand or accept. We will forget scarcity, fear, and how to suffer endlessly. Fire and magnolias will fill the space those things used to take. We will be warm and smell like the waiting room in Oakland's garden. Fat, rich, peaceful wisdom, radiantly at rest, just being when we exhale. The moral arc will declare nature is the law and reciprocity is justice. Jambalaya will be served, the band will play, drumming will be allowed, and we will dance until late into some night when our souls are full and the vibration of Juba decompresses all it ever came to eat the joy of another, outright or in serial, quiet violence, minor movements, or serial major aggressions. Movement 3. When we exhale, we will become proficient in open-ended dreams that finally leave the middle passage and think about tomorrow with ancestral authority. When we exhale, fruit will grow fruit again. New languages will be born, new worlds for new us, new dances, remembering the face of yesterday, smiling from tomorrow. Liberty, unchained, alive on arrival, no weapons form. # manifesting here. When we exhale, the band will play above the noise of a million smooth black grannies dancing on the head of a pin, because their dreams finally came true. Thank you.